Just don't talk about it no more because it pisses me off.
In our day, if you saw girls at the hip hop clubs, you were like, rah, there's a girl here.
You know, them same kind of people have come in and put a gun in my face. I don't even care about the difference of opinion, just don't threaten me, innit? Don't threaten me, ever. Some people think like I'm an antagonist or I'm causing trouble or whatever. I'm just like you lot don't even know, like, that I done things to like, benefit everybody. Our guy has robbed Green's guy. We didn't know this was gonna happen. Guns have come out, and here's my mate and Green, both in the middle. You lined up the studio for each of them to come back on the air. Why did you do that? So I've always been someone who respects the idea in hip hop of respecting your elders and doing your research. But that don't mean you can disrespect me.
So what have you learned from all of that?
I didn't learn anything.
Today on the 521 Sofa Chat, I'll be delving into the history of a guy who's making moves in the world of podcasting. But his journey began 2 decades earlier in music with links with the legendary Mud Fam. But before we begin, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive the notifications, like, share, and get involved in the comment section below. So, let's get into this. I'm here with the master of the debates, the guy that never shies away from a good old argument, the podcast pugilist that is NOVAR FLIP. How you doing, bro?
Hi, brother.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Good to have you here on the... I know we've been talking about doing this for a little while, so...
Well, thank you for having me, man.
What do you want to do? Do you want to start by telling us your story, or should we just get straight into a big old argument?
I usually get straight into an argument
let's just
or a
argue
debate
then,
on my show. I'm like, yo. But I don't know if it's a bit, maybe it's time for me to tell my story somewhere. You know?
Yeah, I think let's focus on telling your story, because there's a lot of people out there. When I mention your name to people, they're like, who's NOVAR FLIP? Who's NOVAR FLIP? And they don't know. But they need to know that you've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And I met you from when you must have been 15, 16.
That's right, yeah.
And that was in Brighton.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that we'd crossed paths before that, but I just didn't know you.
Yeah, probably before that. But yeah, I remember meeting you in Brighton. That was a little bit into my story, but I moved to Brighton for a little while, early on in my story, yeah.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to tell us your links with Mud Fam to begin with?
So I guess that's a relevant starting point, because that's when I kind of became known to the world of UK hip hop that was around at the time. So I met Skinny. I'm from Islington, so Islington, Camden, kind of on the border, Islington, Camden boroughs. Grew up, lived in all different parts of those kind of boroughs, to be honest. But I was rapping from school from around 12 years old, and we'd never really heard UK hip hop at that time. I just didn't have access to it. And then someone, my boy Rust, he's a writer from DDS, he used to live around the corner. He's a bit older than me, right? He said to me, right, you got to listen to these guys, Mud Family. So that Mud Family was actually the first UK hip hop I ever heard. So I was rapping kind of American before then, listening to Wu-Tang or whatever. And then I got this record, and I was just like, wow. These guys are rapping about Camden, they're rapping about Finsbury Park, and I'm like, this is crazy. And I just became a fan from there. I went and got records from, then I went and got the Funky Dio record. Remember the Funky Dio record? Yeah. The convention with all MCD on it, Times on it, Rodney P. So getting that record, because Skinny was on it, then led to me knowing who all these rappers are, right? And I went and bought Rodney P records, bought Black Twang records. I've probably bought your records, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I would be in like Mr. Bongos and stuff, but I still had I'm a kid, I can't get in any venue or whatever. And I eventually got into a Mudlums dance. I heard about Mudlums, got into a Mudlums dance. And then I bumped into Nasser, who's part of Mud Family. Me and him went to primary school together, right? I didn't know nothing about him being in Mud Family these times. Actually, I saw him outside the Westwood dance, because Westwood used to do these dances in Tottenham where you could get, it was over 17s rather than 18s. And he kind of used to say on Radio 1, you don't need ID, just come. So we would be 14, 15, and we're getting into this crazy dance in Tottenham, and they would have a battle on the stage. So I'd see Nasser there. And then I saw Nasser on Holloway Road once, and I said, oh, you coming to the next Westwood dance? And he was like, nah, fuck that, Mudlums. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know about Mud Fam. And he was like, yeah, I'm Mud Fam. So I was just like confused, you know. And he was like, oh, I was like, I'm rapping. He's like, bring me a tape. So I went to bring him a tape. This is the days of no mobile and that. So I'm knocking on at his mum's house to like, talking to his sister, like, I got this tape for you. She was like, oh, it's not in. So I'm walking home and then I see Skinnyman with his son, like, who's a grown man now. But at the time, he's like a baby. Just on his bike on Holloway Road. And I'm like, oh. I'm just like, because I've seen Skinnyman once. That's the only reason I knew what he looked like, because I did get into this Muslims dance, but I'd never spoke to him or nothing. So I was like, yo, I'm trying to give Nasser this tape. And he was like, cool, yeah, I'll give it to him. What, you're rapping? And I was like, yeah. It's me and my boy Turbulence at the time. And he was like, I got a radio show. You can come on my radio show. And this was testament to the person he was, because he just wanted to help everybody. He never heard us rap. Just for, oh, you're some kids from Holloway Road rapping. Yeah, I've got a radio show. You lot can come and rap on my radio show. And then, like, you know, a couple weeks later, I've tracked down his number, because I didn't get his number or nothing. So I've got his number and I've called him and I've said, yeah, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to come on. Remember, I met you in the street. Like, did you give Nasser the tape? And what about the radio show? And he's like, oh, yeah, I didn't give him the tape. I've been playing it in my car for a week or 2 weeks. And he's telling me the lyrics. And like, we're saying similar stuff to them about Itchy Town and things like that, because we're kind of picking it up off them. So he was like, wow, these kids are like really connected with what we're doing, you know. And that's basically how I became part of Mud Family. And we were a group at the time called Flip the Script. And then we basically became the support act on a lot of shows. And I just, you know, naturally kind of started hanging around with them a lot until the point, like, I kind of just became, like, part of the family, really.
You said Flip the Script,
Yeah.
a group. How many members?
It's like, it's one of them things that's changed over time so many times. Originally, it was like me and Big Ben. And
Who you still with now?
We're still with now, and it's still us two who's like the core of the podcast and stuff like that. But it was me, Big Ben, and another rapper called Turbulence. So it was like the three of us. Then when I was at school, there was two other people from school who kind of were doing it with us. One was called Raise, one Fiasco. There's another one called Esteem. So that was like our early days. And then later on, different, like, Wordsmith became a part of it. That's when I was in Brighton, which people always find interesting because him and Chester's beef and all of that kind of stuff. So it's, you know, but that's all my people. But yeah, so I don't know. And then Reg Sweet Jones, he's the other. He was in primary school with us, but he kind of started rapping with us a bit later. So now, like, that's the main, like, core of who was there early that's still there. Now it's me, Ben, Regs, and then, like, Words, Danny Bones. It's just, there's loads of us. You know what I mean? But it's just been different lineups at different times, you know.
Can you imagine if you'd put an album out at the time?
Yeah, we never put out an album. We did a mixtape once, but it's just like kind of threw it out, and it was like bits of things on different projects. I would have loved that.
So why did an album never happen?
I mean, I at one point got more focused on Mud Family, right? And then Big Ben and Rags and that, they did a different crew called KIN. And just different paths at different times, you know. And it's just so hard getting like loads of people all on one page to do something, you know, together is kind of crazy. It's like I had to be the person to pull it all together, but I'm always doing a million things at once. So I'd attempt, like, there's so many records sitting there when I was attempting to make an album, or like that are still sitting there, probably with one verse needed from someone, and just didn't quite work.
So has that changed as you've grown older, like doing a million things at once?
No.
So now it's what, 2 million things?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a bit less distraction as far as, like, doing a million things at once and also going out and partying and doing, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, living a distracted life. I don't live so much a distracted life anymore. I'm still doing a million things at once, so, yeah.
I think it gets worse as you get older, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like now you got a million things plus everyone else's things.
Yeah. Someone used to tell me I got too many tabs open in my brain, you know, like on the computer.
Yeah.
And if you look at my laptop, it looks exactly the same.
You know, I wrote a lyric. The cameraman is telling me it's me. It is. I wrote a lyric one time. I was doing a track with, I don't know if you know First Aid, up in Exeter.
Okay.
So I wrote some lyrics for him, and in one of the lyrics I say something about I need traffic lights installed into my head.
Yeah.
And that's literally...
Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
It's true, man.
And when I say traffic lights, I'm not talking UK traffic lights. I'm talking somewhere in the Middle East where traffic's going all over the place. It's like, what the?
Yeah, and you need to pause. Some of these things got to pause. Like, oh, stop. Let this one through.
There's no formula to it, is there?
Yeah.
But how come there was never a Mudfam album as well?
So, yeah, like I started focusing more on the Mudfam stuff. I was just around them lot all the time. We were touring, doing shows. For me at that time, I was actually in school at this time, right? I've just gone into sixth form. So I've done my GCSEs and I've gone into sixth form. But this music's starting to take off. Like to a point, like I'm doing a lot of shows. I'm with Skinny. We're going to Scotland, and then I got to come back, and he'll drop me home, and then I got to go to college in the morning. And he'd always be like, "Make sure you do your homework before you come out."
You can imagine Skinny doing it, innit?
But it's like, yeah, make sure you do your homework. But then I'm gonna pick you up at this time, and we're gonna go. Like, not that's his fault, but we're doing so much.
Bro, I swear he stands on stage and tells people to do them things now.
Yes, yeah, he does. Yeah, 100%.
Drink water.
And it's true, man. It's like, yeah, his heart is in it, like so much. But it's like, I was like so like tired, and I was just like, one day I just didn't go into college for like 2 weeks, and then they called me like, "Where are you?" And I just said, like, I was just like waking up, like moody teenager anyway, and I was like, I'm not coming back. So I just didn't go back to college because I'm like, I'm gonna just pursue this music thing, and it's actually going like better than I would have thought. Because I started just wanting to be like them guys, and now I'm one of them. Like that happened like in less than a year. So I drop out of college, sixth form, and like a week or two later, Skinny goes to prison. And then,
I remember those times.
All the shows done, and then me and Nasser are just sitting on the park bench, like smoking a spliff, drinking a beer, and just being like, "What will we do? Like, what we doing then?" You know what I mean? I'm trying to uphold a lifestyle and like, you know, stay busy. I always just stayed making music because that kept me driven, like probably more than anybody in our kind of movement. But that definitely blocked us a lot of times. Skinny would go to prison, then he'd come out, and then we'd work hard again. I think he went in that time, came out, then we made an EP. So we made an EP. There was 2 other EPs before that, before I was in it. And then there was the EP of us all together, but it's just 4 tracks. Then at some point he went to prison again. And it's like loads of members had joined in this time. So when that EP came out, there's like 12 of us on the cover, where it was just 3 before that. And the kind of lifestyle that we're in, where Skinny's going to jail, and what we're actually doing on a street level was just giving us so much kind of negative attention that it was just a complete drama. Like, people know, Skinny's talked about it, that he got shot at one time.
I still remember we're standing outside Groove Records talking to a couple of people, and then the news comes in that Skinny's being shot, and we're thinking, shit, this is going to escalate. This is just...
Yeah, that's not... Yeah, and I mean, and it could, and there's that side to it, but, you know, like, we're good, peaceful people most of the time trying to do music, and Skinny's a person with a lot of love in his heart, you know what I'm saying?
100.
Not that he won't, like, do the mad thing when he needs to, but it's like he could have died that day more than anything. Yeah, it hit him like, I think just like near his neck, like on the shoulder blade here or something. But that was one incident, and everyone heard about it because it's so big. But you know, the people that done that was just coming to rob him because he's making money and he's doing well for himself, right? And you know, that wasn't the only time that happened. That was happening a lot. Like, people were coming, trying to run up on us, run in the house.
But the bottom line is, it was affecting the music side of things.
I think it was definitely affecting the music side of things. To me, I think we were too focused on doing the hustle and all of that, but we needed to, because to get to that point where you cross over, we're trying to make money so that we can like pay to do these videos, create this thing, build this label. And you know, live a lifestyle, because we wanted to live like rap stars already. You know what I'm saying? Like, which we essentially was. Do you know what I'm saying? But you know, just even chasing that lifestyle prevented us from being in the studio all the time, I felt. And that's why I spent a lot more time in the studio and was making solo music and flip music, even during this all going on, right? But essentially I found myself in a position where I've come out of school, I've put all of my like eggs into one basket and everything into like, chasing this passion, right? It's put me in this friendship group, which is now like family, and I'm doing things to make money and like and getting involved in the street element of it. It kind of is a natural thing to happen in my environment, but at the same time, my actual agenda is just we're music people, and we're supposed to be doing music, you know. So I'm there. That's the real reason I'm doing it with an end goal, and you know, it just like when you're in that kind of life, serious things happen, innit? So, like I've been in situations where I've been in the spot or whatever in the park, and you know, them same kind of people have come in and put a gun in my face. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I don't know how old, you know what I'm saying? I'm probably like 16, 17 these times. You know what I'm saying? And that's so I'm now dealing with the trauma of that. And just even not even realizing it's a trauma at the time, but dealing with that as a reality of something that may happen any day. That kind of takes the focus of what, you know, what your goals are. And then there became a point where like it was actually just happening all the time. And I pulled away after it happened to me. After like that happened to me a couple of times, or I was there a couple of times that happened. Then I kind of stepped to the side. Was going to the studio more, and there was other man them that was stepping in, right? And they were all there. And at one point, they even had a house that they were all staying in. And you know, I wasn't always there in all of these situations, but I think that happening so much and the trauma that caused kind of got people, you know, at odds with each other at times, or at odds at what direction they wanted to be going in. So, you know, it's not like it ever split up. Mud family is forever, but people fell out of each other. I'm sure they're all cool now, but people fell out of each other for periods of time. And, you know, just on this topic, I guess, like at that time, when there was a moment when everyone else was kind of gone or not around all the time, I'd not been around a bit, and I kind of came back. So then it was like, because like Skinny was kind of on his own, so me, Skinny, and Nasser was like together for a period of time then, and then Skinny went jail again. And this is before his album still, right? So we're trying to build a label this time, PM Music. We've done this EP, and he's in jail again. So I'm kind of trying to keep business going with that label to a degree, but also he's left me with his phone. So for people in North London who know what that would mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, or anyone who knows how the streets kind of operate, like that was
The phone.
the phone, like, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, the line or whatever, yeah? So that line was mental in North London. And it came to a point where it's like, all right, cool, I'm gonna look after this line, handle business. He's got, 18 months. I don't know how much he's done in the end, maybe half of it or whatever, yeah. So this is some of the most mental months of my life, because I'm still young. I'm like, maybe 18 by now. And, you know, I've got a bit of notoriety in my area just from being involved in all of this, some of these people and the music. And I was just like, right, for a start, I scaled things down. I was like, right, I'm not dealing with enough people who I don't know, and I'm going to run things in a certain way. You know, I had people trying to phone me, like, certain people I didn't trust. They'd be phoning me like, oh, what you lot up to? What have you got there? What's this? And I'd be like, nothing, I'm not doing nothing. And then they'd phone me with a plan. There's actually a really quite a big person in the industry who called me with this plan. I don't want to say his name, that's all mental. But he called me and he's like, right, I got an idea. I'm going to give you a new phone and you're going to give everyone this number. And then when Skinny comes out, I'll give it to him because you're not doing that. And but these times I'm lying to him saying I'm not doing that, innit? And we had a big argument, well, to a degree. And he's really successful now in music, and we've cool. I've interacted with him, but whatever, you know, it brought so much heat. And then, like, you know, by the end of the time that Skinny came out of jail, people from my own area now, where I grew up in my estate, were the people that's turning on me. Because before it was these other people from other areas, right, who I didn't really know who they are. They're more Skinny's age or whatever. And now it's like these kids I grew up with my whole life have kind of looked at what's going on and go, oh, he's got the phone, So I think they even maybe waited, let's wait until towards the end of it, do you know what I'm saying? And like run up in his house and all of that. So yeah, that was just mad. That was something again that created trauma in my life. And I didn't realize it at much of the time. I think it was a bit normalized at this point. But then, so Skinny came out of jail that time. That's when he went to jail and he wrote his album, right? And I think at some point, Skinny would say this himself. I can't really remember what the letter is. And I don't know which time I wrote it, but I wrote Skinny a letter when he was in jail. And he always told me it was one of the most touching letters that anyone ever wrote him, right? And I kind of said to him, look, man, you've been rapping for as long as I've been alive. Because I think he at one point told me at what age he started rapping and whatever. You know what
It was like 9 or 10 or something.
Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? So I was like, you've been rapping as long as I've been alive, bro. And like, you've got like people love you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't remember exactly what I wrote, but I was just trying to get across to him that you've got this opportunity because you're like, at that time, one of the most, renowned rappers that people wanted to hear in UK hip hop. So I was like, you need to come out of jail and just do this properly, man. You need to turn your life around and focus on this, right? And I remember once helping him move house and he found that letter. I brought it up. So, but anyway, he comes out at that time, he's wrote his album in jail, he's comes out and he did record it. But at that point, I was like, there's your phone. I got other shit to do. I can't, you know what I'm saying? This is all too much right now. You know what I'm saying?
It must be mad because like you go from being his hype man on tour to having the phone.
Yeah.
And your life has drastically changed.
Kind of. Although I'd say there's a lot more, like the hype man thing even probably came later than even involvement in that kind of thing.
Okay.
Like we did a show with Flip the Script supporting Mud Family, right? At Subterranea. It was supposed to be an album release party. So there was always plans to make an album. And this is before I was kind of like Mud Fam. I was just a support act, right? But in the time of when we were flying that event, I was just with them all the time. I was leaving school, going to Skinny's house, going to clubs, going to shows. I was coming out of a venue and people were starting to see me and like people would come up to me and go, oh, you're the new young Mud Fam rapper. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh shit. And it was all just building from then. And then like, I went on, like, I'm chilling with Skinny every day, but I'd never really told him the story that I had his records at home. I was just being me around the ends, like I never really got into it, right? And then we done a support act, then Mud Fam done their Skinny and Mud Fam done their show. And I'm in the front row. Like, there's a video of this somewhere, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'll probably find it cringy or not now, but I'm in the front row and I'm rapping everyone's lyrics. Like even Mongo, Chester, everyone's lyrics, I know them. I'm like proper like a fan of this music. And then like the next week we've got a VHS that we filmed and we're sitting watching it all the time in the house. And Skinny's like, I didn't know you know all them lyrics. You know what I'm saying? He's like, no. He's like, look at everyone on the stage. Nobody knows each other's lyrics. Like, he's like, no, you got to be on the stage. That's almost pretty much actually, that's kind of how like the Mud Family thing for me as far as being on the stage happened. It was like, everyone's bars. Like, you got to be here. Like, and I think I was just good at that. I don't know if it was a young thing, but then I would then pick up everyone's bars, new ones that are not even on record, that they just spat at every show. Isn't it? Yeah, the passion for it. Yeah. So I always kind of held the show together in that way. So when we were doing Mud Fam shows, we never had an organised set. We had sometimes we just run in a Dead Prez instrumental when we were all rapping. Yeah. But I would learn everyone's bar so quick and back everybody up. So when Skinny started doing solo shows, I think it was kind of natural for me to be his hype man or whatever. But I think that came a bit later.
When I tell people it takes me like a month to memorize lyrics and people's offering shows, I'm like, nah, bro, I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm the same, man. I can't anymore. Not my own, nothing. But then I used to write a lot, man. Yeah. I used to be in the studio, like, so we made that EP, right? DJ Noise produced most of it. DJ Flip, we done it in the studio. That's how that kind of connection, it all came together at that time. And like, after that, I was just like, DJ Flip, right, give me your number, I don't want to be going through Skinny, like, because I'm being told to come here by Skinny for this EP this day. And I was just there every week after that, making my own songs. I'm like, all right, cool, let's record this, like. And yeah, I was just on it. Me and Sincere was there all the time as well. He was just there rapping, you know what I'm saying?
Talking of Sincere, there's other rappers that you've like also had run-ins with. And one of the ones that kind of comes to mind is Professor Green.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
Oh shit! I ain't spoken about this for a long time. So yeah, that's at that point in time. That's actually had a good part of the story. I came away from doing the Mud Fam stuff some more. Skinny's gone and put his album out. It's become quite a big success, right? And I was still checking for him, don't get me wrong, here and there, but I wasn't. I'd stopped doing
Mud Fam for life, innit? That was the motto.
No, of course, but I didn't. So I stopped doing the shows with him and stuff like that even, and I just stopped because I didn't want to be around the whole thing that was going on. I think I was quite going through my trauma of what had happened. I even stopped smoking weed at that time, and we are proper like weed was our life as well. You know what I'm saying? And around that time.
So how much of it were you selling and how much were you smoking? Are you allowed to say?
Listen, we smoked a lot of weed. Like we smoked as much weed as possible, but then you couldn't. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't smoke as much as we were selling. Yeah. So it's like, just saying. Yeah, no, crazy. There was a point. I remember going to visit Skinny in jail, and him just sitting there like, bro, do you remember how much we used to sweep up at the end of the day? And then sometimes there'll be people in the yard who are like, yeah, if you can find any buds, but it's like dog hairs and stuff. And we'll be sweeping up, like there'll be half an ounce in there getting dashed. You know what I'm saying? And it would be like £1,000 a day coming in cash. And he'd be like, yeah, £1,000 a day, £1,000 a day. Like it was, trust me, North London, that operation was crazy. But yeah, I even stopped smoking weed. So it's like I didn't really want to be in the environment of weed and all. I was like, you know, to be honest, then I started drinking like a bit while I was out and about. I was drinking more than I used to. So I went from one thing to another, which wasn't great. But cool. I'm like doing my own thing now. I'm recording an album with DJ Flip, recorded the album, lost all the files, but I got the bounce. I got the bounce of the one, you know, the demo version of what it's gonna have to be now. Skinny even did a verse on that album that's not like, I've actually put that out as a demo now because I just from that CD. So I made that album, like I say, lost it, but I took the CD around, took it to some labels, and got a record deal with Kemet Entertainment, right? So at this point, I'm now doing active music. I've got a record deal on the table, but I still need to make money and do my thing. But I'm not, even though I'm not rolling with these lot anymore that much, you know, the way I've learned to make money is still the same. So I'm just doing it on my own now. So I'm like, here, all right, I'm hustling over here. Cool. And I'm hustling with a couple other people and we're doing our thing, right? Professor Green is doing Jump Off. We've met through the music scene, but he's doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And it don't matter for me to say that because he's written a book and talked about, everyone knows Green was shutting and hustling and doing his thing. So we all know each other. We're all cool. You know, sometimes I might call him to bring something. Sometimes, you know, we're not really working together, but we're both doing the same thing. So we might, every now and then, you know, help each other out. So I was actually recording, I was recording my album and I'd been put in a studio by Kemet with Joe Buddha in Nottingham. So I wasn't even around. And at this time, something's gone on where a guy we was kind of working for, who's giving us work, called my friend who I was working with and said, right, can you get something? We're kind of running out over here. I need something to tide us over. And we're waiting for him to give us something, right? So he's like, oh, can you get like 3 boxes? I've got the cash here. And my boy's even gone to his house and he's got like 12 grand cash, whatever it was at the time on the table. 20 grand cash even, like, and gone, right, is this 12 for this and do that. So he's called up Professor Green and gone, oh, can you get this for me? And then Green's come down with someone. He wasn't bringing it himself, but he's come down with someone to bring it. And our guy has robbed Green's guy. We didn't know this was gonna happen. Guns have come out. And here's my mate and Green, both in the middle, right? He's gone off. They've gone off with the thing. And then, I'm going into my detail about the story, but fuck it. And then Tutu's obviously my friend's now left with these people and they don't know him. And it was like, well, you've done this. Do you know what I'm saying? So they've kidnapped him. they've kidnapped him for like 3 days, and I've spent 3 days, me and my boy, trying to raise 10 grand. They were saying for them to let him go, right? Or they're gonna kill him. Like all of this, like, you know what I'm saying? So we went mental for like 3 days. It was like that 3 days. I could do like it's like a movie. At one point, I could write a movie on this over these 3 days. What we were doing, like, and like police have worked out and been alerted to what's going on somewhere along the line. You know what I'm saying? And I'm literally being followed by police for 3 days. Like it was crazy. Well, anyway, got them 5 grand. Half, they let him go. Green gets arrested. Because in the mix of it, I think they arrested him for kidnap, even though it's not him that done it. It's like, he's involved. If anything, he's trying to help. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to make sure he don't get hurt, all that kind of stuff. So that made us fall out. Like, obviously, we've all been in a bad situation. There's blame getting thrown around, whatever. I didn't think it made us fall out that deep, but it is what it is. He's now signed to Mike Skinner doing his thing, and he's put out his first mixtape. And he said a lyric like, I can't remember what it was exactly. I think the song's called Same Old Me. And he says, I can't remember the opening line, but he says, I gave a fuck about a prick that I shouldn't have bothered saving, right? And he's talking about my boy who don't rap. He's not a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's my brother. He has these same tattoos on his hands, right? And he goes, he gave a fuck about a prick. So he's just calling him a prick. And he's talking about he saved him, shouldn't have. And he's talking about having these charges or whatever. He didn't get that. He got off the charges and that. But that just pissed me off. Like, me, I'm a rapper, innit? So I hear someone's like a diss. I want anyone to diss me, you know what I'm saying? Or us, like, I went straight in the studio and I can't even remember the song that I made. This is MySpace times, right? And I remember I got records at this time, so I'm saying I got records. I just done it like on a Dipset instrumental and I just cussed him and I was shouting and I was angry. The record sounds mad angry, I remember that. Like, and I remember doing it and sending it. I remember sending it to Mr. Jam, and I just sent it out probably to everyone. I remember Mr. Jam emailing me back being like, nah, bro, like, you need to calm down, like, calm down. like, that ain't it. Like, you sound too angry, man. Just chill, like, let it, I feel like just saying let it pass or like chill on this song. I think they're thinking, yo, Green's the battle rapper of the country as well. Like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Like, he's gonna like knock your head off. You know what I'm saying?
But this situation went beyond
this situation
battling.
wasn't rap, so I just didn't care. I was like, what? I'm on your neck. And then like, he actually, on your MySpace, you used to have a blog. Remember, you used to be able to write little blog posts. And so he wrote a blog post about it at the time, and he said he'd made a reply. And it never came out. I think he decided, right, I'm not going to give this that attention. He's he's signed into a major. He's got things going for him. He kind of cut it off. And then for years, like, so people who follow me know this issue, that I got an issue with him because I've done that song. I've dissed him online. I got angry a million times.
Let's just clarify. You said people who follow you know you've got an issue with him.
No, I had.
Right.
No.
I just want to clarify
I'm talking in perspective of the time, right?
Right.
We squashed it back then, but it's like, it's squashed, but it's not, right? I never really felt like... So he signed to Mike Skinner one time, like, they came to Brighton. Mike Skinner come to Brighton to shoot a music video with, I think Green's featured on a song, and an artist called Neon Hitch, who we'd become friends with. She's like on my album and stuff. She's like also signed to that label. Me and her are cool. Like, us and her are cool. And she's telling us, I'm in Brighton. Green phones my boy, the same one he called a prick, and goes, I'm coming into Brighton, where can I buy like a white New Era cap? And we were sitting there thinking, it's like, he's making sure we know he's coming so that if we don't bump in or
obvious, isn't it?
There's no problems, yeah? Because we've already kind of squashed things, but we've never really seen each other or been cool. So we was like, yeah, I'll take, he goes, come link me, I'll take you to the shop, like, rare. We weren't gonna do nothing, but we were just, I think maybe we were trying to be like, stamp our authority and be like, yeah, cool, let's see each other and whatever properly. And we felt like he was trying to avoid us because he just circled.
Everyone was just sussing out the situation.
So I think we thought that he kind of tried to avoid us or whatever. And then we were just like, all right, so we just made phone calls. We knew everybody in Brighton at the time. We called all the like venues, club. We knew he was doing it in a club somewhere. called security. Where's Max going to shoot in a video? We're like, oh, it's that club there. We've gone down there now. We've drove down to the club. We see Neon Hitch and her friend walking up the road away from the club. So we're like, all right, cool, they're going off somewhere. Then now that we've gone to the club, we've asked the people, they're like, where's so-and-so? Like, they don't know. They're like, oh, they've all gone to this bar up like there to like eat food or whatever. We're like, all right, cool. So we just rolled up there. There's like 20 people at a table. Max Skinner's there. He probably knows there's a situation. Just tapped on Green's shoulder like, it's good, bro. Okay. But it was blessed, don't get me wrong. We're being silly, but it was like, let's go to the bar, buy a drink. And then they were like, what are you lot doing tonight? We had a club that my friend was like managing or whatever. And we were like, you know what, we're going to give you the middle floor and you lot can just have a private party after your thing. So we let them have a private party, which was cool. But then after that, I don't know, like, maybe I was just an angry guy sometimes, yeah? And I know it's my fault in a lot of it, but like he'd probably done his actual album came out at some point, right? Because he's not with Mike Skinner anymore, he's put his actual album out, signed to Virgin or whoever. I think there's 1 or 2 lines I felt like he's dissing me.
But is that paranoia?
A bit. There's songs where he definitely talks about the scenario. He's talking about, I got arrested for kidnapping and this and that, like on his song. And even just hearing that pissed me off. I'm like, I felt like, stop telling this story. But I realized I was just angry. So I called him up. I actually taped this recording, but I lost it because it was on an old, when we actually filmed things on tape. Like, I had a camcorder. And I recorded it and I said, no, you're taking a picture, you're dissing me on this song and I'm quoting the bars from me. He's like, it's not about you. And I go, how can it not be about me when you're saying this? And he's basically saying some bars about people who have dissed him in songs or whatever. And I'm the only person who's made a fucking diss song for you, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you're bringing this back up. So he goes, all right, cool, I see what you're saying. I see how that can be about you. Because remember, I was battling, like, this is about everybody. So I'm like, nah, fuck that. And then, like, whatever, I forgot about it. And at some point, I did another record. But it was more like a record I dissed him on, that I made dissing him, that I sat on for ages. One day I was at home just drunk and I decided, I'm putting this on YouTube. So I kicked it. So it just kicked off, it just like went off again. And then I feel like even his second album, he mentioned it again. And then I mentioned the situation and it just pissed me off. So me and him just was like not cool. And like I look at it now and I think I was probably the antagonist of a lot of it and just being angry and frustrated and annoyed and like pissed off.
So no surprises with the direction you've gone with your podcasting then?
So I feel it was my fault, right? Professor Green, all of that beef. And then, years later, he's like written his autobiography, right? And I'm like, right, I think I bought it. I might have just tried to flick through. I'm interested. What's he gonna say? But I remember at this time when I called him that time, and I've like been shouting angry. I've said, stop talking about this shit. Just don't talk about it no more because it pisses me off.
Says the guy who's sitting here talking about it.
And then he wrote his book, and I thought, at this time I don't care. I'm like, I'm wondering what he's gonna say about it because I know it's a significant thing that happened in his life, and it had a big, like the way I'm talking about how these things impacted my career. Yeah. He had bigger opportunities than me and a lot of us. He's getting signed to these major labels and he's got that shit going on.
And he's got investment and everything that you haven't got.
Yeah, and I'm saying, so that's disrupting his career like hugely. So I'm like, I know he's gonna write about this. And I read what he wrote in his book and, he talked about the arrest, the kidnap, he talked about the robbery, and he kind of summarized it. And I don't know if my conversation with him before had any impact on this, but it feels like it could have, but he kind of summarized it like, look, everyone involved in this situation lost out and we were all kind of frustrated or whatever. But, so I just want to say that and move on. You know what I'm saying? So he really touched on it briefly in a certain way, maybe because he thought I didn't want him to talk about it or whatever. At this point, I don't really care. But it was actually mad interesting to then read what he did next. And he's like, oh, so then I went back to my girl's house and I'm reading parts of the story that I just wasn't there for and see it from his perspective and be like, oh, fuck, man, like that must have been difficult for you. Do you know what I'm saying? And then the most mental part of it all now is the person who did the robbery is now telling stories on YouTube. And they've already told this whole story on YouTube. And so now you've got me, I'm telling the story here, but I've told this story on a record before, so I've kind of told this story a bit. This is the first time I've said it in an interview. And the person who did the robbery has told it on YouTube, but he's not mentioned Green in it, and I don't even know if he knows that that's who he robbed that day.
Oh, because he's not a music guy. While I'm hearing you explaining all these things that are going on, what's going through my mind is, like, for those people that don't live that life and don't understand that life, explain how you get into those situations and why you get into those situations. Like, it's the, you know, is it to do with the way the government's running the country that's causing people to feel like they can't rely on the elders and whatever else, and there's nothing there for them? What pushes people to that?
That's a great question, and I think the things you've listed there are definitely important. I don't think there's much opportunities for young people. We don't really feel like there's much out there for us, and we're pushed an image of materialism and of what people have to be considered successful or to be considered important, and you know that got us chasing something in whatever way we can. I don't know. I feel like I never wanted to be involved in any of that. I don't know if me telling my story is like the obvious story of that, but maybe it is, and maybe I'm just, because I'm looking at it from my own perspective, I have this rose-tinted idea that was never supposed to be me, right? I didn't really grow up like a bad boy kind of youth or whatever. Like, I was always trying to do something else or a different path, and it still kind of spun around for me that this is just what we had, or what was ready for us, you know?
Let's go back, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 years, and the kind of things that were being pushed to us was about getting an education, getting this, getting that, getting into like certain types of work. And then there was people looking up to the likes of Gandhi and Martin Luther King and all that, where it wasn't about material, and like we weren't showing those things off. We were trying to show off like we were intelligent, we were smart.
Knowledge.
So what changed?
I can't really give it a timeline of things changing, but what I will say is, throughout history, from then, maybe from before until now, the focus of like governments, especially Western governments, but probably governments of the world, has constantly made the rich richer and the poor poorer more and more every year. You know, to the point now that the cost of living is insane. So it's like,
Stupid.
It just becomes more and more intense and more and harder to just live a normal life.
Can I say something on camera?
Yeah.
Me and you start a gang. We find out all the addresses of all the rich people and we go and rob them.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Listen,
look, that was hesitant.
I'm going to spud you. I'm not down, yeah? Let me just say that. I'm not down. But hypothetically, I'm down. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm down, like, overthrow the government, change the system.
Something needs to happen.
All of that kind of stuff, yeah. I'm down, like, don't get me wrong with that.
So when you get other countries, like France, for example, if something ain't right, they start revolutions and stuff.
Yeah.
The UK doesn't do that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's so much turmoil.
Yeah.
Like, all you have to do is look at what's going on the streets and ask yourself, why?
Yeah, 100%. And it's why these kids are angry now. Like, you know, we look at rap music in this country and it's become way more violent now, right? And that again is a reflection of it getting worse and worse over the years.
But isn't that also the agenda of the record labels and all that, pushing that to make money for themselves? They don't care about the kids.
I think there's a level of that, but I think it's more what's going on. I don't try to lean on that conversation too much. I think there's something to be said in it, that they allow that narrative sometimes more than others.
But before they used to ban those things.
They still ban those things. They still ban people from doing shows. Most of the kind of street rappers that was coming out was banned from doing anything, getting a record label, getting a record deal, doing shows, and they pushed to do something that would change. So I'm more celebrate them, right? But I see there is something in what you're saying, but I more see that actually things have become more and more violent, or we're seeing the violence more. And I do think that comes down to austerity and poverty just becoming more and more kind of prominent, and opportunities becoming less and less. And you know, just going back to my story, right? I was never involved in road like half these youths are now just doing music, but I was to a degree, right? And even I think the UK hip hop game was scared of that at that time. But I really just wanted to do music. That's why I say I never looked at myself as that kid, right? I just wanted to do music. I was so passionate about it that I was gonna do whatever it takes. to do my music, to tell my story, and for there to be a UK hip hop scene that created something bigger, right? I just cared about it so much. We spoke off camera and stuff about that, about me, like my passion for this, getting lost sometimes, and people get like angry with me for having, you know, for supporting stuff, maybe even supporting them drill youths, right? I'm like, yo, these kids are trying to make something of themselves, and there's an older generation that's like, nah, fuck.
You're in the generation in between.
I'm in the generation, I'm in the generation in between, I guess. But, you know, so I defend them, and it makes some older people angry, right? Or I might even American rappers, even a mumble rapper. When there was a whole mumble rap thing, I was defending them guys and going, well, these are just some kids doing their thing and trying to make money, feed their families, right? And the American ones even more. This pissed off a lot of people actually. I used to say that these are like young African American kids, right? Black American men, young men, most of them, making music, telling their story, and trying to turn their lives around. And I was like, that's hip hop. Like you can't, because you'll get some old white guy from like, you know, Berkshire or something or whatever on the internet going, this isn't hip hop. And I used to go up to them guys like, well, what the fuck gives you the right to say that's not hip hop? Do you know what I'm saying? Because this guy, the artist was talking about, his whole life and identity and everything is what hip hop came from. And he's now continuing that. But you just don't get the music. Cool. And sometimes with the mumble rap, I'm like, that's how them lot talk in southern states of America. Some of them talk like that. I'm like, I don't get it either. But
I'm not for us.
But I ain't gonna. It's not for me.
It's not for us.
Like UK drill is not for me. And I've been on TV like bare times back in UK drill, but I don't think that music's for me. I might like one or two songs, but it's not generally. I turn off the radio. I've reached that stage now. I used to cuss these guys. Like, you know, I just start a tune. Now I've reached a stage where I turn the radio off. But I'm still not mad about it.
But isn't that the beauty of it though? Like when you've got a TV and something comes on, you can switch the channel, right?
Yeah,
if it's not for you. In terms of the music though, it's subjective as well, isn't it? So just because you don't like it, it doesn't mean there's other people that don't like it, and people gravitate to it. Yeah. Most of it is because that's what their ears are tuned into now, because that's what's being pushed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
My question is, if you were to hear, say, an early hip hop record, like let's talk Mud Fam.
Yeah.
Would you gravitate to that if it was constantly played on radio today?
I don't think what Potter Paper is doing now is far different from that. I don't think it's far different from that. I mean, the early Mud Fam, I think we were still finding ourselves and our style and voice, or whatever. But the Skinnyman album, that's timeless. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think people are still doing stuff that's inspired by that. But I think there was a disconnect at that time. Like you mentioned that I'm kind of a generation in between, right? I feel like there's only a couple of us still active from that generation, even before myself. Like obviously I'm not doing the music as much, but I've still kept myself in the, you know, visible, you know. Genesis Elijah, he's managed to stay doing crazy things with his music and build.
And changing direction and doing it successfully as well.
Yeah, doing it amazingly. So there's a couple, right? But I feel like we was a generation that kind of got missed a little bit, because it's like there was some successes in your generation, right? Yourself, obviously, you know, Skinny coming at the end of that kind of run. Kalashnikov. And then when my album came out a couple of years after that, and a few of us came out, it's like file sharing took over the music industry, everything went a bit weird. And I feel like our scene didn't embrace what was coming next, right, at that moment. They embraced Kalashnikov, but then what comes on from Kalashnikov, they weren't really put down with. You know what I'm saying? Like even us, we got a very, you know, we got the street element in what we do, but we're still really about hip hop culture. So, and Skinny is so like dope and so loved, they can't block us out too much, right? But I don't feel like they wanted to let other rappers in that was in that space. Like even me, I think I got, like there's certain things people wouldn't book me for stuff, because it's a bit too much trouble. I think you've even said to me, people told you not to work with me before. I don't care who that is or whatever, but someone said that to you all the way back then.
Yeah.
About music, and someone said it to you again now about podcasts for different reasons, right? But I feel like there's that street element that they're kind of scared of or whatever. So I got a record deal with Kemet Entertainment, but I don't think any of them other labels would have signed me. Like Lowlife wouldn't have been interested in me, right?
Well,
even though, and they signed Skinny because you had to.
You couldn't stop.
You couldn't not. It's
Yeah.
such a money opportunity, right?
Yeah.
I don't even think they really wanted to either, because remember his first single was "I'll Be Surprised," right? All them stories I told at the beginning here, that's what that record is about. He says, I'm roaming with 2 straps, both off the safety catch. Talk about going to look for them people, right?
Yeah,
He's let it all out in his record. He came to Lowlife with his album and said, right, this is the first single. They were like, no, that can't be on the album. I won't have anything to do with guns or stuff like that on my label. And he went, it's the first single. I take it or leave it, and they had to take it. And this is another example. I said this thing about Westwood and 279 the other day on my podcast, and it's all these examples where I feel like certain people and certain stories weren't allowed, and it was all kind of taking a direction that went a bit middle class, a bit scared of the hood, and new artists came out later that were a bit more street, and they couldn't be a part of UK hip hop. The Young Sprays and the North Stars, and then the PDCs in South, they might have fucked with us, do you know what I'm saying, or Skinny or whatever, but they couldn't really come to Kung Fu and they wouldn't get booked for that kind of stuff, do you know what I'm saying? So, I was saying, I got signed to Kemet, but that's because Kemet operated in that world and had Itch FM, but they were 2 man from like Tottenham and Hackney, were a bit of an anomaly or whatever in that world. So they're probably seeing the balance that I have, that Skinny has in that world, you know. But then, I do kind of see there was the divide happening. I also talk a lot about there was a racial divide happening, and I think that maybe helped me still get into some spaces, right? But then Big Ben, he's not getting into them same, like he's not getting the same opportunities I have, and we basically came up together doing the same thing, like, you know, built our whole thing together and our styles together. And then he started, that's when YouTube kind of took over, and there was channels like UK Overstood, who was run by Junior, a friend of ours, Big J, who we went to primary school with, right? This is just our age group, everything from the ends. He was watching what we're doing even and realizing, I'm not gonna break into this scene here. So I'm just gonna get a camera. And then he put out the first videos for K Coke, Benny Banks, even Stormzy, he put out Stormzy's first video, right? And all Big Ben's videos and all that. Even me, I was a bit arrogant at that time because I'm from this UK hip hop world. So don't think none of this stuff's rubbed that off on me, some of this attitude I talk about, because it has. I didn't do videos on UK Overstood. I saluted it, I shared it, whatever. But I probably still felt I was bigger. I'm not gonna do that because I'm over here, do you know what I'm saying? And then they were women made superstars, you know? And we didn't, and I feel like everything from there split into the different worlds and didn't really
You got to
gel.
look at that situation and kind of go, did I hold myself back?
Yeah, I've probably held myself back in loads of ways, but I don't look at that, I don't really look at anything with any bitterness or regret. I feel like I did everything I was supposed to do or planned to do. Do you know what I'm saying? I'd already had that album out at them times. I've been played on every radio station. I've been on Tim Westwood's show. I'd earned the respect of my peers. I didn't really care about much more.
Let's go back to Brighton when I first met you.
Yeah.
And you came up and you introduced yourself.
Yeah.
And then I think there was like a DJ booth that was in the middle or something.
Yeah.
And I said to you, bro, jump on and do something.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I don't remember it well, you know.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you, like, I remember seeing you.
But
But
the person that I met, right? I didn't see none of the road stuff. I didn't.
Yeah.
All I saw was a young guy that was hungry, that wanted to prove himself. And you, the reason I invited you up is because you asked if you could come up.
Okay.
Right.
So and you was that guy who would let me do that.
And I always let people do them things.
And I definitely saw that. I definitely would see that and remember that about you. And even when you was doing the CD business, like, I know a million people tell stories of you helping them, and you've helped me in that as well. But not everybody would do that. I think most of it was love. And I probably got some level of bringing more than most, being that of those few people of that generation, right?
Oh, because you put yourself out there.
I put myself out there, I did the work.
And you didn't come to us with an attitude.
Yeah, but I guess, where does that attitude come from, though, innit? From the guy behind me who's trying to come through, and he's coming not to you, but to whoever we see as a gatekeeper, and go, right, I want to do this, I want to get a show, and that person's kind of like brushing you off.
How many albums have you got out there?
Oh yeah, I was trying to look at this yesterday. I think at least 5 albums, but then like some that are mixtapes. It's like 11 projects or something like that, 10 or 11 projects.
So there's a big history there.
Yeah.
But let's put things into perspective. So say Michael is an arsehole and he's holding you back.
Yeah.
So are you going to hold that grudge against David? That's the next guy that you've approached.
Oh no, what are you talking about though? Like a grudge against a generation?
Yeah.
So like say...
a generation, or even say someone's, I don't know, at a record label.
I'm not going to hold a grudge against anyone, but I get how someone else can. Like I say, I feel like I've got a lot of bring-ins. I've got a lot of opportunities, so I don't feel that bad about it. I don't feel that bad about the generations before me. But there's some of them that are disconnected. Obviously, the MC Duke thing, right? I've had a situation with him recently, but he didn't know me back then, so that's not connected to that.
So what happened with MC Duke?
Whether telling the whole story is worth it is I don't know, but I had an argument with MC Duke on Facebook. You know, when people just have arguments on Facebook. Happens all the fucking time. Obviously, people know that I have arguments on Facebook all the time because I'm a troublemaker, right?
Like I said, the king of the debates. You know what? When I was doing the introduction, I really wanted to put the word troublemaker in as well.
No, I've got a song called Troublemaker, man.
There you go.
But yeah, it was... In the mix of it, somewhere along the line, he was half defending R. Kelly. Then he was trying to say he wasn't defending R. Kelly. It was started about Kobe Bryant. I don't need to tell the whole story. Yeah, cool. We disagreed on whatever he was saying, and I was saying, no, that's not it. Defending R. Kelly is like defending a nonce, and that really pissed him off. Like I'm calling him that. And to the point, he's like threatening me in my inbox, all kind of crazy. And then he spent 3 years. I just ignored it because I thought, actually, I do have respect for this guy. As a legend, let me just leave it alone. I interacted with him there, but I didn't write stuff on my wall, never. And then I kept getting screenshots for 3 years. Every now and then there'd be a screenshot with him saying something about me and threatening me when he sees my name or come up or someone else. Anyone someone else shares my stuff, he'd comment on it like, fuck this guy, when I see him, I want to catch up with him. And it just got to a point I was like, nah, I'm not having that. Like, fuck that. So I've told my story, right? And it's funny because ever since I've done that, he hasn't said a word. So, I think he was just trying to move like a bully or whatever. But what I realised is that he probably doesn't know my story, but I don't think it matters to him. There's certain people that are so disconnected that they feel like we do this. This was our point where we started, and you haven't respected it, and you're not as good as us. So, there's that as well, even just with generations. The younger people think, but I'm better than you, yeah? Which I came in the game like that. That's hip-hop, though. That's hip-hop. So don't be mad about it. But when you're older, I just feel like when you're older and you still feel like that, it's a bit disillusioned. Like, because I think every generation has got better. Yeah? Like, I think, honestly, when I came out, I'm a much better rapper than MC Duke. Like, I'll just say that as a fact. And
but just so we're clear, you're not a much better rapper than me, though.
I'll say, I'll say that I am, though, as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm supposed to.
Then, innit?
No, we're not going to battle now. You know what I'm saying? You want us to battle, then put up some money and do a pay-per-view. Do you know what I'm saying? But no, like, you're supposed to feel that. And I think it's true. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say specific people. I'm only saying him because we're talking about him, yeah? I think there's a generation of rappers between me and him that are better than him. Like, without question. And that's not because he's shit. He has his place in the story. And for his time, he did something groundbreaking.
Okay, so...
Yeah? So I respect that. But I think what came out after him is better than him. I think when I came out and the rappers of my generation came out, we were better than the right generation before. Like, just generally. Mm-hmm. And I think the generation that came out after me is better than me. Do you know what I'm saying? I think the rappers out now putting out albums, the J Husses and the Daves, are miles beyond anything I've ever done. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I would ever do... Maybe they have different resources and all of that, but it's not even a like need to kind of explain it. They just evolved and done something beyond. Do you know what I'm saying?
And if you can't evolve, there's a problem.
I've just got to respect it. Like, go on, like, I love it. You know what I'm saying? Where some people are hung up on what they didn't get to do, and they're just angry.
Okay, so if I use myself as an example, because obviously I can reference myself, like all them years that I was doing the CD business, whenever I was listening to people's music and there was an instrumental, I was always practicing. So it's also a case of, did you walk away and then come back and expect the world to still hail you the same way? Or did you keep practicing and keep evolving? I kept practicing and evolving. However, I don't want to sound like your J Husses. I still want to sound like the Blade, but just a practiced version, rather than a walked away version and came back because someone offered me £500 to do a show.
But and you might still mostly be for a certain audience over time.
Yeah, and
I know that of myself as well. But I think I'm a better I think I'm a better rapper now than I was when I was ever active, but it's just because of that practice and that experience. I can make an album now better.
But that's where the passion comes in. You still love what you do.
No, of course, I love it. But I know I can make an album now better than anything I've ever done, and I probably will at some point, right? But again, it's not going to be my moment to go, okay, I'm going to come out and be a star now, because it's probably for a certain audience. You never know, and anything can happen from it. But I do it for myself. But
so let's just with regards Duke, MC Duke, you know who he is, right? And you know his story.
I know his story a bit, yeah. I mean, I met MC Duke once, and I don't think he'd ever remember this, right? But I met MC Duke with Paul H. 2006, so when my album came out, Hip Hop Connection have done a feature on me. It's the only time like I had like the whole page or 2-page kind of spread and interview. So I've gone to do my photo shoot. He's had a little photo place, and Duke's in the issue the same. So he's just done both our photo shoots together. So I remember meeting him and seeing him, and he had the whole kind of old school look on then. I don't know what he had going on at the time, but I remember half knowing who he was. Do you know what I'm saying? But, oh wow, like you're someone before even the era of rappers that I've usually met and come around. But I showed him love, respect. He's a young kid. He wasn't rude, cool. We met then. But I don't know if he knows when all this happened that we'd met each other that day. But yeah, I know who he is, man. And I actually looked him up more since all of this and looked at his record and went, okay, I'm riffing and all of this stuff, and looked at the kind of relevance and cultural importance of it in our scene. And I have nothing but admiration and respect for that. Like, I came in this game respecting those artists that kind of came maybe off the back of him. So I've always been someone who respects the idea in hip hop of respecting your elders and doing your research. But that don't mean you can disrespect me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
see, I was going to say that. Like, if I felt that you were disrespecting him for being an artist from the old school and all that, then I would jump to his defense and say, bro, without guys like him, there wouldn't be guys like you. But because it's gone on a personal level with the R. Kelly stuff, I can't really get involved.
And that's why it's funny that I started this by saying I'm a better rapper than him, because I made it about the music. That just came out randomly. But yeah, it's not really. It's not really. But what I really just wanted to show is that, the next generation is usually better, and you gotta like show them respect. The generation that came after me that became like pop stars, because we had quite a pop moment there before the street rap took over. We had even Professor Green was in that pop moment, right? Professor Green, Tinchy Strider, N-Dubs, Rizzle Kicks even. Like
Brighton.
Like these kids come up listening to my shit, and I'm saying like, and will tell you that, do you know what I'm saying? And Dappy as well, do you know what I'm saying? Who'd be like, being from my area and that, when my album out, I had posters everywhere. Like, no one was really doing it that much. You know what I'm saying? And he always comes to me and says, I just wanted to get to where you are at one point in my life. I was seeing you with your poster and your record deal, and I won an award that year or something, and he was just like, I just want to be there, And I just showed him nothing but love. So when he comes become a pop star, he still fucks with me now, and he'd do a record for me now, probably if I wanted to. He did records for me after he's a pop star. And like, a lot of them guys before, they wouldn't want to do a record with them people. Cool, I don't know if that's a musical choice or whatever, but
I've never
like
agreed.
They're angry at them.
Yeah, I've never agreed with that. I've always been one of these guys because I went from generation to generation. So I was in that early generation. Then I made albums in your generation. I've done a next generation. So I've always been in support of all that. So all I'm trying to get from here is that as an artist, You've got that respect for MC Duke because of his
100%.
achievements and everything.
100%.
But you just have a difference of opinion when it comes to real life.
Yeah, well, I don't even care about the difference of opinion. Just don't threaten me, innit? Don't threaten me, ever. Like, simple stuff. Don't ever threaten me on the internet. Like, because, to be honest, you're supposed to be from an older generation where we don't do that. That's a young people thing to do. You know what I'm saying? And I don't generally do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, like, when you threaten someone, it's real life. Like, just don't do that. That's simple stuff. But yeah, like, I actually want to focus on the respect for that. When I done my radio show and my podcast and that, I want to tell people stories. When I was doing Pyro Radio first, right, which is before a lot of, we had all these podcast things recently where we linked up and there's all these UK hip hop like podcasts, which is great. But when I was doing that Pyro Radio show, nobody was doing that yet. And I was inviting Rodney P, Bionic, like people want to tell their story. You know what I'm saying? I think
So
I
it
even
was
asked,
my invited.
I invited you.
Really?
Yeah, I definitely invited you at some point. And I don't know what we were talking about at the time. I was doing the CD, the flyer business with Kingpin. I think I might have called you about some CDs. And in those conversations somewhere, I was like, look, I'm doing this radio show. I would love to get you to come and tell your story because I wanted, and I think you said you were kind of open for it, but you were kind of not doing anything at the time. So you were more like, think about
Sounds
it.
like me.
Like, let's approach it, conversate about it later.
Yeah.
And you were very respectful about it. Cool. Some other people would ignore me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like other people I've just mentioned.
No, but I mean, it was obvious
You know
at the time. I was just focused on the CD business and, you know what I mean?
But I'm like, I'm the one here that maybe one of the last people at that moment from that world who's like, I still want to tell these stories. Let's not let it vanish.
See, because I come from the earlier generation, it's like I'm always going to be defending the earlier generation, right? But I also believe that us as the older generation should have been advising and helping out the younger generation that's coming in and all that kind of stuff. I feel like maybe some of the people from my generation didn't really contribute in any way. And maybe some of us hold grudges. Maybe the youngers, just felt like they were not given the opportunities they deserved, so they went on to create their own careers and everything. So, but I'm not going to get into a conversation about that. I'm just saying there's things that could have been done different. Yeah, things that could have been done different. But you, as someone who's kind of in the in-between generation, and you've had your differences with MC Duke, obviously, I'm guessing that you don't really want this to carry on. You want it to be peaceful and everything.
Bro, I don't care about it. I'm here talking about it because I've mentioned it on podcasts already. It's relevant to our conversations here. It's relevant to your generation of hip hop and mine and whatever, and the story of how hip hop went in this country. But other than that, I don't care about it. Like earlier in this episode, I talked about real shit I went through with street stuff going on, right? I cared about that. Because my life was in danger, right? So when someone threatens me, it makes me I'm thinking that, But I also have to think, no, you're not. It's not that. You know what I'm saying? You're not that guy. It's not that anyway. This is over some bullshit, right? But then don't bring me to that space mentally either. So I just don't appreciate it. But I'm not a person who sits here. I point out these things about generational divide more for the people that came after me. Like I say, more for other people in my generation that didn't maybe get some of the shine I did. Because I feel like I got quite a bit, you know what I'm saying? I feel like your generation did support me in a way, actually, when I deep it. I'm just thinking this now as we're on the spot, I didn't think I would come here necessarily to say this. But like I said, you were always supportive. Skinnyman supported everyone and continues to this day to just hold like an open heart to everybody who just wants to get on a microphone. He still puts people on his stage show like up and down the country. He did it the most, but also others, MCD, like always gave me his time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like always. And me and him have, I didn't even mention that in our conversation about me and him have got an album together that's sitting on my hard drive. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I couldn't, like MCD, if people look at Rodney P, right, as like, okay, the godfather of UK hip hop, they call him, right? And Rodney has shown me some support as well here and there, you know what I'm saying? Not as much as others, but he's, even he's shown me some support as well. But people look at him as the Godfather, right? And then he said that lyric, "I don't feel no MC like I feel MCD," right? Yeah. So it's like he's saying that's the GOAT, yeah. He has this mysticism around him, MCD. You know what I'm saying? Where I was like, yeah, you know, like kind of like just so intrigued by him as an artist from those kind of that lyric and bits I'd heard of him and stuff. And then I met him and we became so close. And I was so embraced. It was like, for me as a fan of your generation of hip hop, like I couldn't, how can I be embraced more than that? To the point he phoned me one day and said, like, I've gone to his house actually. He's like, we ain't seen each other in ages. And every now and then we'd make records over the years. Or he'd come, like, get me to make a record with another young artist he's working with. And he just loved music like I do. And then one day he's like, oh, we ain't seen each other in ages. Come, let's make a record. And he hadn't rapped for how many years? Me and him made a record together. He called me back later and he goes, let's make an album. I'm like, what? Like, I'm almost like in shock. Like, what do you mean? What, you want to produce an album? I'm thinking he wants to make beats and me rap. Like, he's like, no, let's make an album as like a duo album. Like that Nova and MCD album. He's like, you do half the beats, because I'll make beats as well. He's like, you do half the beats, I'll do half the beats, and we both rap on all the songs. And I was just like, whoa, yeah, of course, you know what I'm saying? So it's like crazy that happened and that was his idea, do you know what I'm saying? And he was like, I was like, what? I think I even asked, like, why do you want to do that with me? Like, and he was just like, nah, I like rapping with you, man. It brings my kind of vibe out, you know what I'm saying? And we made a whole album. We called it The Cause of the Silence, which is an interesting, I think I might change the title if it ever comes out, because there's another title idea I've got, but I'd have to run it past him. But at the time, we called it The Cause of the Silence, which was one of the titles of the songs. And he, it's interesting because we've never released it and it's just been silent.
But also, like, obviously, it used to be in Silent Eclipse. So,
Silent Eclipse, yeah,
so
yeah,
the
exactly.
silence kind of
I
makes sense
felt
as well.
that at the time it was almost like a resurgent Silent Eclipse of me and him in some way, but it was also, we also featured loads of people on it, like Tibbs was on it, Pesky, like people around us, Big Ben, but also Scheme did a verse, Nocturnal from Berry Crew did a verse, bunch of people, man. Like it's a cold project, but it's very experimental at the same time. If I've ever got to release it, I think I might want to revisit it. Just, you know, it was 14 songs. I'd maybe strip it down to 10 or 12 and work on rework the beats a little bit.
Why not just put the demos out and let people hear them?
I'd just rather them hear a polished thing, because I think there's something great in there. I finished one of the songs and I got Show Proof to produce it, right? And that's had Stilo. I don't know if you know Stilo's R&B singer on the hook. It's like a hit record, to be honest. Like, that's one song. Like, it's maybe a bit left for our UK hip hop fan base, but that one song is like a hit single. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
But isn't that the beauty of music, though? The fact that you can go wherever you want to go with it. It's about your mind being open.
100%. That album's mad creative. We're going all different directions. It's all different kind of sounds, but that's why I just wanted to work on it in gel. But I don't know if MCD, I haven't spoken to him in a while, you know what I'm saying? But that's family for life. But I don't know if he'd want it to come out at this stage. He might have been at a different stage in life. But at some point, I would like to do something with that and let people hear it. But just the fact that I did it, just going back to what I'm saying, I do feel like that generation embraced me. Do you know what I'm saying? I just feel like what came next, people really had to do their own thing. And they didn't embrace everyone. And they didn't embrace, like, the streets. And I think somewhere in that, there's the kind of racial and class divide. You're an artist that's watched all of these generations, right? Do you feel you noticed what I'm talking about?
Yeah, 100%.
When I say that UK hip-hop became whitewashed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like, because, you know, I was only around for so long before that I feel that happened. But I remember going to Flavour of the Month and Deck Effects in South, and this is a bit before Kung Fu, like, and whatever other events was around at the time, and the audience being like a lot more like multicultural, definitely a lot more black people in the audience. And then at some point, Kung Fu started and it was the same. And Kung Fu over the years, that just became the rappers on the stage and the audience just became really white, to the point once it came away from that, and then Boom Bap Festival, I think Boom Bap Festival was on one year, RIP to Ty, because me and him used to talk about this a lot. And he used to push me to be a person to speak about it, I think, because I don't think he felt that comfortable speaking about it, because he thought he was going to alienate his fans, like a lot of like white fans who might feel away about him saying it. But there was a point where it's like Boom Bap Festival, all the artists on the stage were white, maybe 80% of them, and the audience, pretty much everyone. I don't know what that was, and why. And then you got grime over here, right, at first, and then UK rap and other scenes, which was not the opposite, but a very different picture. And then you have the white kids doing this UK hip-hop thing who've kind of taken over it. Yeah, that's why I just find it so arrogant when they would say, that's not hip-hop. That's why, to me, I often say grime is hip-hop. Grime is like one of the purest forms of hip-hop in London.
I think it kind of lost direction a little bit because people didn't really understand what hip-hop was.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's going through every generation, and it's getting washed down a little bit as it goes on.
So which one's washed down though? Just randomly, like, yeah, let's look at two examples. Like, what's washed down? A UK hip-hop rapper rapping about, this is like, it's gonna be hard for me to think of an example without it sounding like it's dissing anyone, or whatever. Rapping about, I don't know, the countryside or whatever, yeah, and flowers and whatever the hell they're rapping about. And I was gonna say butterflies, but that's the Task Force thing. And I think Task Force didn't only rap about that; they rapped about the streets.
Yeah,
but so they had everything. But I think they influenced a lot of artists that rapped about all this other shit, or like so. The rapper rapping about all of that happy life or whatever, Task Force definitely didn't do that. They rapped about depression. But, or the grime guy who's rapping about that, not necessarily the streets, because I don't think they were that aggressive on the streets, but they're rapping about, yeah, like a maybe council estate mentality, life and aggression.
Well, it depends on people's perspective as to why they got into it in the first place. Like, say, for example, when I got into hip-hop,
Yeah.
not UK hip-hop, when I got into hip-hop, you know, it was a bit free-form. It was like, you know, you'd hear Ram LZ and whatever doing just, down with the boogie, whatever. It was just, you know what I'm saying? It was just the rhythm, you know what I mean? But then as time went on, the messages started coming in. So you'd get like Melly Mel doing the message, and do you get what I'm saying? And then you had the skill level come in, and there was an element of street and attitude and everything.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, it's almost like it went into Woodstock period with the Flower Age. And suddenly you've got like, it's all softened down and the energy isn't there anymore. And you're starting to see, like in our day, if you saw girls at the hip hop clubs, you were like, rah, there's a girl here. Right?
Who wants that, bro?
Yeah, exactly. We don't want that. Jesus. No, but I always felt like once you started getting a lot more females in the club, the vibe changed. Now, I'm not blaming the females for that. They were coming in there for the music and whatever, and they were coming in there for what was going on. But what happened is like the audience changed because the people that were going to the clubs were coming for the socializing with the females and everything else.
Yeah.
And it softened down the music because now the DJs are trying to play the music to cater for...
Listen, I tell you, I would rather listen to soft music and have some women to talk to than be in a sausage fest of like dusty drum.
But you understand what I'm saying?
I just would rather, listen, play Ja Rule, man. Just play the Ja Rule record, turn off, but whatever.
I'm saying for the diehards, for the diehards that were into all of the rougher and whatever, we weren't getting that as much as we used to in the early days.
And don't get me wrong, I said earlier, I come from the UK hip hop world, so some of these ideas of negativity towards other scenes was in me. I was negative to grime at some point along the way, right? I'm just natural arrogance of, but we're still better. Oh, yeah, cool, that's going on, but we're still better. Yeah, and they're just repeating themselves and their lyrics are simple. But I would still go to the clubs. I live in London. I would still go to those nights. And then I think there was a turning point when Kano made P's and Q's, where I was like, actually, this could sit lyrically with any of those other records and then whatever. But I'm just saying, like, when you're talking about watered down, then they were the least watered down. Like, this was literally, like,
But it just goes to show the streets wanted that.
Nah, because they would literally, they didn't even have records. Remember, we had records. They didn't have records. They were literally playing a beat, which was a UK garage beat or similar, a dark, the producers were making these new dark sounding kind of UK garage beats. And they were spitting back to back on them like what they were doing with the breakbeats in New York when hip hop started. It started organically on its own, but it's the same as the hip hop story. And it's like they're just rapping, and girls was going to that club, and it's aggressive and
But that's what I'm saying. So
that's why I say
changed.
it's But that's why I say it's hip hop, and it's like the rawest form of hip hop.
But you're right when you said
UK.
about Sausage Fest, because that's what it was. So something had to give way. Something had to
100%.
change because like you needed to get females in the club.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But then you got the backpacker music, which was just basically everyone talking about the sun and the moon and whatever. And
that's what I was trying to say before.
right, and a lot of it doesn't make sense.
Big them up as well, though. Do you know what I'm saying? But
but a lot of it, it makes sense to them when they're writing it. But to the average ear that's listening,
they know. A lot of them rappers, and some of them have told me this. Yo, I'm chatting shit. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just writing words. I read books. I find words. And I'm just putting it together and making it sound like something. And don't get me wrong. I started rapping with Wu-Tang as the start, and I didn't realize this till years later. Like I talk about Chester P being the father of a lot of these rappers,
no question.
And his style he's got that style in there where he might just say something crazy that doesn't make sense. But I realize it comes from Ghostface. I realised, and I don't know if I ever had this conversation with him, or maybe I'll see him say it eventually, but I realised I think it comes from Ghostface. Ghostface will say the maddest thing, and then he'll probably get fans come up to him and go, oh, remember when you said this? I realised what you meant. You meant this and this, and he's probably staring at them like, I ain't got a clue what I meant. But yeah, you've worked out your own thing. But it's brilliant, you know what I'm saying? It's brilliant, and I don't get me wrong, there's a brilliance in it, but then, like I said, it's the generations that came after that, some of them I couldn't connect with because I'm like, I need to get back to the reality. And then Chester does the reality thing as well. Both of them do. You know what I'm saying? Like, amazingly.
The other day, I had somebody rapping some lyrics to me, and I stopped him halfway and I said, bro, do you know what you're saying?
Oh, you're cold.
No, because I was trying to show him. I was trying to show him that, you know what, you're rhyming, but I don't think anyone's going to get it. Yeah. Do you get it? What's your message? What are you trying to say? Yeah. So eventually he said, I'll be honest with you, like you said just now, I'm just putting words together, and if it flows, it flows. Yeah. I'm like, but then you can't complain if you don't succeed. People need to attach to you to come to your shows.
I 100% agree with that. But there is an audience for that thing.
It's a small audience, very niche.
It is niche, and there's a mysticism with those artists that don't do a lot of interviews, don't put themselves out there, don't tell their story much. I've always been about telling my story and an emotional connection. Like as far as an artist, but also as far as the artist that I love. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why I think Skinnyman is, I'm biased, but like one of the greatest. Yeah. Because his album, and it tells his story, but it also tells a story of young people in council estates across the country.
It translated to a lot of people, different generations as well. 100%. But see, when you said I was being cold, bro, no, I'm being caring. You're not. I'm trying to show them.
No, you're real.
Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to show them that if you can't come to me and tell me that, you're pissed off because you ain't getting a break, when really you need to look at what you're putting out there.
Who are you?
I'm just saying, like, if you want your record to be heard by the masses, then say something they can relate to.
The street rappers are really big now, but I think it's because, they're authentic, their story. Like, the last week we had Nine's album come out and Potter Paper's albums come out. Potter Paper's in prison right now. He's the first person ever to have a number 2, a top 5 album while in prison. Yeah. Right? He went jail the week before. And it's like, you just know it's authentic, and he's just really telling his story, and you start to care about it.
But that's what I'm saying. There has to be a connection. Otherwise, you might as well just be in your bedroom rapping to yourself, innit?
Just touching back on that with those rappers, and being that connection, I'm just so glad that that's happened. Because I started this showing how I was having these stories going on in my life, and it impacted the music, stopped us being able to even make the music to a point. You know what I'm saying? Now they got an industry where you can see that it's possible, which gives you all of the hope in the world and the drive to make it, to go and record it, right? And you can have a top 10 top 2 album. Both of those albums went to #2 one week after another, and kind of come out of that life. It's amazing.
You went to school with Akala.
Right, yeah. So that's take my story right back to the beginning. When we started rapping, it was me, Big Ben. Carla was in the year below me. Big Ben was in the year below me as well, so they were both in the same year. And I guess that's the start of rapping for all of us in a way. I don't know where Carla first started rapping, but we were like 12, 13 years old, coming into school with our Wu-Tang tapes, and we're all rapping. And we used to have a concert at our school called the Band's Concert every year, right? And people would come and do Spice Girls cover version or whatever,
You really want to admit that on camera, bro?
No, not us. I'm saying not us. I'm saying that's what's going on,
Okay.
or Oasis or whatever was popping at the time. People would come and perform songs, right? And then we were like, okay, we're going to do our rap thing. And I remember one year we did it, and I think we were all rapping American that one year. And we were just rapping on whatever instrumentals, and we just came and done some lyrics, right? And then the next year, I think within a year, we'd all heard UK hip hop somewhere. That's when me hearing that Mud Family thing happened. I think we'd all heard some other stuff and started rapping British from whatever that may have been. It may have been through Garage, because Miss Dynamite also was there, who's Makala's older sister. So she was in the year above. And she was there as well. She's there. She used to MC on the side in between the acts. And I guess that's where everything started for us. Big Ben was in a group with Akala and in Flip the Script, right? So there was 2 crews in the thing. And I don't know if they would agree, but I always felt everyone thought Big Ben was the best rapper in the school. That's why both groups wanted him, right? But me and him went primary school together. We were like family. And I didn't care about him being in this other group.
So you got first dibs?
No, he was in both, but I didn't care about him being in both groups, yeah? I just wanted him to win. But I think they cared a bit more. They were like, no, we're the best group. So it was Akala, someone else, and him, right? Akala, and he's a DJ now, it's called DJ Brassfoot. So them guys were a bit like haterish, like, nah, Ben, like, leave that group. And then they were like, he won't leave it. And then he's like, all right, fuck it, we want to battle them then. You know what I'm saying? So we all battled at school. And had the whole of the kind of anyone who's into hip hop in the school, in the music room, and put a little few posters up. You know what I'm saying? We made a thing of it and did long before Don't Flop and all of that.
So again, this just kind of defines you and your story from how early it all began.
Yeah, man. That's like 98 or something, 97, 98, I was doing that in school.
So even before Mud Fam and everything?
Yeah, or when I was just hearing it. It's around that time I was just hearing that stuff, or just before, yeah. And I just loved it, man. I loved hip-hop music so much. Like, if you think about all those stories I just told about the streets, my passion was really music. I was almost doing it because, you almost put your life on the line.
Did you ever feel that you had to do the street stuff to be a rapper, to be an artist?
No. I didn't. What you mean in a sense of in order to be someone that fits into a hip-hop mode? No, never. I mean, maybe there could be some subconscious thing in that. And okay, now this fits. But it didn't happen like that. It just happened by itself. And even we was never them rappers we might rap about the streets and stories about the streets, but it's always with a positive message at the end, or with a level of empathy for something better. We weren't the ones here look at us, we're tough. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Even though maybe sometimes the shit that was going on is worse than we were even seeing in the music. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then there's other rappers that come out later that maybe were more about that, but maybe they were more like that as well, you know what I'm saying, in real life.
The reason I asked that is because there was a time when we'd be like, they start out as rappers and become gangsters.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that start as gangsters and become rappers.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I think it can all happen. I think most people who really become gangsters is more environmental. I don't like blaming rap for that stuff. Yeah, I think that might have happened at our stage, right? And I think sometimes there's narratives that are tired that we're still repeating. Like people who don't understand drill music now, or from our previous generations who want to cuss it, might say that, but it's like a cliche thing to draw for. Oh, these kids are not really living that life, they're just doing it because they want to be famous and da. And I have to look at them and go, because I've studied this music well, right? No. Like,
There's reasons.
these kids are really gang members. Because the ones who aren't are not successful. It's like you have to almost be real in the world to be successful. It's mad.
The truth is, some of them don't even care about the music. It's just something they can do.
I think, yeah, maybe, but their lives are in danger with these lot. You know, it's scary with drill because they're not doing it for money. Right. When I was in beef and stuff and people was like coming after us, it's because they wanted money. Like, now these guys are just doing it over a postcode. Like, literally, you know what I'm saying? There's not actually like real money in it. War for nothing.
I mean, what's going to change that though? Has anyone got the answer?
Well, some of them are changing it by rapping and becoming pop stars and hiring, creating jobs for all their friends.
Yeah,
so I just love that. So I just love that. Yeah, I can't not love it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, every single rapper that makes it and that is charting in that world is now creating a career for like multiple people.
If the government and all these corporate businesses are shutting everything, like all the doors, we got to do it ourselves.
Yeah, putting money into the arts is an answer.
Well, you know? And it's the artists that are being successful that are creating those opportunities, like you said.
I'm a supporter of them guys. I think I've covered that I'm a supporter of what came before as well.
Yeah.
But I just want to big them people up. Like,
100%.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like I said the thing about 279, which is just, I was just trying to tell a little piece of divide or something I experienced or noticed. But 279 has played my records. He's booked me for shows. So, and not just for me, but he's done a lot. So I just big up 279. And there's also something in that debate when I said, is UK hip hop dead? And I mentioned that whole story in there. He had just put on the event that you performed at, right? 50th anniversary. Yeah. And I saw the pictures and all of that kind of stuff. And it looked great. It looked like a great celebration. And it's like MC Duke is there, Rodney P is there.
Outlaw Posse, MCM, Caveman.
There you go. So there's people that were going back before, like more MC Duke's generation, and you know what I'm saying. And it looked like it's sold out. It's busy. It's like popping. So I'm like, is UK hip hop dead? Of course not. You know what I'm saying. Even from that element there, if you can still put that event on and people are coming out to see it and you're all getting together and celebrating it, I just want to salute that. And Tony spread love as well. Like, and madly, like, I didn't come to that because of the Duke thing. And that's a weird thing, right? Because it's like, I've never ever done that in my life, not come to something because of some kind of beef. Yeah, never. I told a story on this Sinners podcast the other day that I had beef going on, like people threatening to come to Kung Fu it was. I didn't even mention it that night, but they know we're always at that event. People in the hood were calling saying, we're going to be there, we're coming for you. And I told a story of going to Kung Fu and getting someone to smuggle something in there so that I was safe, which is mental. You'd never expect people are going to go into Kung Fu with them kind of things. And it's like, so I would always like, no, I'm not going. But I'm just older now. And I'm not got beef with MC Duke like that, but I just felt like I'm not going to come to this night, which looks great. It was a celebration. And I'm going to see him and have to be like, what did you say about me? Or what? Or he might do it. And then there's a fight or a beef and it fucks up the night. Because I really love this thing. So I didn't come intentionally to not cause no problems, you know. So anyway, salute to that.
Yeah, and obviously, just for anybody who doesn't know, Flavour of the Month was started like 30 odd years ago, and it was really great to be involved in that. So all props to 279.
100%. Flavour of the Month was sick. Like I said, that was my reference point when I said about the divide, like the change, that whitewashing and all of that. My reference point before that was Flavour of the Month. That's one of the first things. Don't forget,
that was kind of where MCD really...
Okay, but that's probably before my time coming there.
But you know, I mean, when MCD was in a crew, 2 Times Death, with Vince and DJ and Carmen, I took them on tour, and I knew then Darren was going to be a problem.
I met Darkus once, randomly, and like, I don't really think I even knew. I've heard his name. Obviously, he's a huge A&R, whatever. But I knew his name because of MCD's story, right? So, but now he's already. I don't know if he was the head of Ireland, but he was a big deal.
Yeah, he was.
At the time I met him, right?
Yeah, Amy Winehouse and
that. So, but I met him at Dappy's show. So Dappy was doing his solo tour. I'm just, I've just gone to check him. I'm here for the show. So I'm chilling backstage. I don't think I knew what Darkest looked like. We're kind of in the stairwell. He's walking through, and he's just come to see Dappy because I think Dappy's on the label, but it's not signed to him directly. But someone said his name as he's walking past, like say bye to him, and said his name, and I was like, oh, Darkest. I was like, yo, and me and D was recording the album at this time. So I just like, yo, great to meet you, man. And I was like, yeah, I'm a good friend at MCD. And he just like, he kind of lit up like, oh, wow, yeah, tell him I said hello. And then he was like, yeah, man, like, that was my first person I signed. He went, I brought all the white people from the label to go and watch him, saying, this is it, this is the guy we need to sign. And he just gets on stage and he's like, I don't need any of you white people to buy my record or something like that. Or something, like, I don't want to.
Sounds like Darren.
I don't want to quote something like that makes him sound bad, yeah.
No,
Whatever
but there was always a
yeah.
reason for him. That guy was like,
it'll be he's saying something deep, but yeah, it was just, and again, it's Darkest quoting it, but he was just saying he said something that threw off all the white people, like these people from the label, and or fuck the Queen or whatever, and it's he was like, yeah. He was like, fuck. I was just sat there like, fuck. And he
government,
was like,
fuck off, Parliament spin.
Yeah. And so Darkest was just like, yeah, like, oh, fuck. Look what he said in front of all these people, but he was like, yeah, I still fucking signed him.
How would you describe your dream as an artist?
My dream as an artist, I think, it changed. But in the beginning, I remember sitting in class once I'd got these Mudfam records, and I was probably talking about them all the time, and like, also, with this time we were watching Yo MTV Raps had ended, but they had Yo MTV, where they played just music videos. And I'd started to see British rap videos on that. So this is before I met Skinny as well. So I'd seen Black Twang.
You would have seen Brotherhood Day as well, I think.
Brotherhood, correct. Yeah, that's a few of them. So we were talking about this stuff. And I was talking about Mud Family all the time because they're from where I'm from, but I haven't met them yet. And I remember, so Brassfoot, who I mentioned before, who was in the group with Akala and Ben, me and him were he used to be calling himself Graphics. That's what he used to call himself, Graphics. And we used to take graphics together. We were actually sitting in the graphics class while this happened. Okay, yeah, anyway. And he goes to me, what do you want from being a rapper? Like, do you want to be famous? Or do you want to like just be like Mud Family? Like, he's using them as the reference because we're talking about them. Do you want to be like Mud Family, like this underground respect? And I remember saying, yeah, I just want to be like them. And I always look at it like a manifestation because I literally like said I want to be like them, and a year later I was in the group and we're recording the next EP. So that was it. I did my dream. You know what I'm saying? Like way early. And then I grew up listening to Tim Westwood's show. And I would, as much as people say he doesn't play things or whatever, I would wait for that 15 minutes and listen to them UK rap records. So in my head, it was like getting him to play that there. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's all I want. And I went on the show. When the Mud Family EP came out, I went on the show, spat a few bars, and we done our little interview. Like, I done it. But everything else that followed was a bonus. And then I just really cared about the scene. I'm like, so passionate about UK hip-hop becoming something, right? I've told the story of HFM being at my house.
Yeah, tell us that.
HFM had just been around for about a year. And I don't know where you first kind of heard about it or whatever. But for me, it was like, wow, it was the first time, like, whoa, we've got a radio station. Their tagline is dedicated to hip-hop, and they just play hip-hop all day. This was insane. Because when I went on Skinnyman's radio show before, it was one hip-hop show on a UK garage station, because that's what the pirate stations were, right? Or jungle and drum and bass. So the station had gone down. They're looking for a studio. Somehow, someone involved in it is asked, do you want to do it at your house? And Skinny gave me the advice at the time. He was like, yeah, do it for a bit. Obviously, they're going to pay you to do it. But he was like, get your little notebook, like your little address book, and just build contacts with every DJ because, this is going to be good for you. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm like, yeah, this is sick. This is a sick idea. And like everyone can tell you know what I'm saying? Like from DJ MK, Disorder, Unusual Suspects, like everyone who's on HFM, they've all been to my house. You know what I'm saying? And it's my mum's house as well, not just my house. I'm a kid. So I had to convince my mum, like, and underplay it a little bit. Like, oh, mum, I'm just gonna do this we're gonna do this little music thing in the bedroom, in my room. It's not really a big deal, but there's gonna be some people coming and going.
I can imagine that scenario.
I'm saying, and we
Jesus.
did it for a few months, and that was cool. I built a relationship with them, and I wasn't able to say this back in the day because obviously they were involved in a pirate radio station. But Kemet Entertainment was the label they started up later as a separate business, right? So it's in my house, and that's ended. Once I went to I won't tell the whole story actually, but once me and them fell out, or me and Trevor, I think specifically from HFM, had an argument, right? And we kind of fell out. I think I went to the radio.
You fall out with a lot of people, innit?
Nah, this was not my fault, you know. It was actually DJ Flip's fault, if anything.
Okay.
And maybe
But
Trevor.
the point is, you still fall out with a lot of people.
You know, I don't though. In real life, I don't fall out with people much. Yeah. Like, and I will always like. I'm very like.
You just like to push people's buttons
Like
when
my
you do a
actual friends
podcast.
and that, I'm forgiving. Like I forget stuff easy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I'm ready to squash stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? All these stuff I'm talking about, we can squash it. Do you know what I'm saying? Quite easily. You know what I'm saying? I forgot to say in my Professor Green story that years later he came and did something for me.
Wicked.
Yeah, and that was important. I don't know where we got distracted from that part, but Professor Green, when I was doing my political campaign, I was doing a political campaign to push people to vote when Jeremy Corbyn was running. I needed artists to come and push this thing, and I've reached out to him. Josh Cole said we need Professor Green. And I was like, I'll reach out to him. Fuck it. After all these years, and then I reached out, and he came and did it for nothing, and sat, and you know, it was brilliant.
Yeah, excellent.
But where did I get lost before that? So HFM. So me and Trevor had fallen out because I think I went to DJ Flip's show to appear on it when it was in a new studio. And they have to get permission before someone can come. I think Flip just thought, well, that's Nova, of course he can just come. But I wasn't on the station at the time, so he got really angry and he called up and started shouting at me. And I was just like, rah, who are you shouting at or whatever? Like, I didn't like the way it went and whatever. That part's not even important, we fell out. We hadn't spoke for a couple years. A couple years later, I'm in a studio with Flip. Trevor has come to the building for some reason. I think maybe because they're using the studio. This time they got Kalashnikov out on the label. They might have been booking a studio session, getting a CD, whatever. They're passing through the studio. And, you know, we just didn't mention anything. And I happened to know that HFM was not on the air at that time and hadn't been for quite a while. And Trevor was like, we were both leaving. He was like, do you want a lift? I'll drop you to your house. Like, I was like, cool. And then as we were driving, I was like, yo, I've got a studio for you. Because my boy had just got a new flat and he was letting me stay in it. So I was like, yeah, you can come and do it here. And I didn't get no money for this. The money went to my boy whose flat it was. But I was just like, you know, this needs to run. But then years later, when I've signed to them and putting my album out officially, I just remember me and Trevor driving somewhere. We're like on a motorway or whatever. We've gone somewhere to a studio. I don't know. They used to drive me places all the time. And he just came out of it. He brought that up and he was like, you know what? I remember once that you offered us a studio. And he goes, I don't remember why, but I just feel like me and you weren't talking at the time. We weren't cool, really. And we didn't mention that, and you lined up the studio for HFM to come back on the air. Why did you do that? And I was just like, the station is more important than me, you know what I'm saying? It's more important than me and you. Like, that was like something that held us all together, you know, and everyone's getting played on the radio somewhere. They're not getting played anywhere else, you know, and that was like before One Extra, or like part of the birth of One Extra, because I know they were watching them shows. Do you know what I'm saying? And they came and got some of those DJs. So Trevor just said to me, yeah, that's what I felt. You know, because I always thought that about you, like you just cared about this thing, and like I wish more people were like that, you know. And like I guess that's just testament to what I feel about this thing. So I got the tattoo like a year ago, and it was my birthday. My birthday was just gone, so it was a year and a bit. My last birthday, and I just woke up and I was like, I want to get a tattoo today, and I said I'm going to get something that represents that world of UK hip hop for me, because that's just important to me. And I thought, what represents it? I was going to get Mud Family, obviously that's my thing. I think I'll get that at some point. But I was trying to be broader than that. And I thought, HFM, yeah? And I went and got this logo. It was hard to find because they changed the logo slightly. You know what I'm saying?
What does that logo mean to you?
It represents so much to me, because obviously I had the station in my house. It represents my involvement in something, in a way, but it just represents that scene. It represents all of us to me, you know. And it was just so important to me, man. It was just so important to me, and I just care and loved it so much. And that's why that when some people think like I'm an antagonist or I'm causing trouble or whatever, I'm just like you lot don't even know like that I've done things to like benefit everybody. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that because I really wanted everyone to win.
Are you misunderstood? Are you what is it?
I think people that follow me properly know this stuff. They know that I really care. Do you know what I'm saying? Even later, I started the UK hip hop debates thing on Facebook, and it's like, yeah, there's things that wind people up in there. There's things that like, if I call out MC Duke or I talk about Rodney P about this or that on my podcast, right, where it seems like, oh, you're causing a drama, but actually, even in the mix of that, I'm highlighting, you know, who they are. Yeah, and you know, the majority of the time, I'm talking about, you know, MCD and you, Skinnyman, Black Twang, like Mongo, Chester P, like, and how much these people mean to me, what they meant to my life, and how like it's given like hip hop has been my whole life. Everything I've done has been off the back of, you know, even stuff that's non-music related. It came off the back of me in some way, the skills I learned while doing that career. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just everything to me, man. It's just everything, and I just love it. You know what I'm saying? And I love it before me and after me, and just everything, you know. And to me, when I antagonize, mostly it's about social issues, and sometimes that's outside of hip hop. People really get wound up when I talk about women's issues, right? And there's so much misogyny in hip hop that it does trigger a lot of like mentalities. But to me, that's what hip hop is. Hip hop is supposed to push the boundaries of against what's wrong with the establishment and what's wrong with the system we live in, right?
I mean, if you were to break down all the rappers' lyrics,
yeah,
can you imagine how much madness would be going on?
Yeah,
like everyone's
madness,
different opinions.
Yeah, madness, but so much gems. Like,
yeah, gems as well. When I say madness, I'm talking about like the different opinions. Yeah. Like you could say hello to someone, and they'd be going, "Oh, he threatened to kill me." It's you interpret things wrong.
But yes, you do. But I think you interpret things right so much,
well.
or like in a good way. Like I think I've learned more from hip hop than probably anything. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I think I learned more from like Tupac or Chuck D, like, you know, like about the world.
Yeah.
Than
we don't listen to our teachers.
Do you know what I'm saying? Than a teacher, than any teacher.
Yeah.
You know, so that's amazing. Do you know what I'm saying? And like that's why I have no time for any kind of bitter hip hop is they've ruined hip hop. They've this and that. I'm just like there's so much beautiful to look at that I just ain't got time for it, man.
But it's always going to come down to opinions. Everyone, you could say, you know, like when they have those polls about who's the best rapper, it's all pointless. It's you know, like what does it matter? You've got your favorites. You've got,
True.
Even when you got your favorites, you've still got loads of other people's records in your collection. What does it matter?
I like them arguments, though.
Yeah, but that's because you're a troublemaker.
No, but you're right.
But you're a troublemaker, though. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, a little bit. Do you know the weird thing? This is the weird part of my story I don't think I've ever told, is that I was always that troublemaker, right? In the early days, right? Okay, when I'm first hearing the Mudfam records, I think I just got the internet. So the internet's either just started or I've just discovered it in its very early days, or forums. There was a mudlums.com website, right? This is before ukhh.com forum, and big up UKHH, because I saw the episode here, that was really interesting to watch. But before that forum, there was mudlums.com, which was like Skinny's event, Mudfam and Berry Crew's event, and there was a forum. And I used to be on there chatting I think a bit before I met them. And then when I started meeting Skinny, right, I don't know if I'm telling stories that they've never told, that they don't, but I don't think it matters anymore. At that time, there was a bit of a divide between Berry Crew and Mud Family,
I heard,
right? I don't know if people know that much. But to me, I'm a young little kid, yeah? So I'm coming into Skinny's yard, and I'm noticing this stuff. He's cussing at them a bit. He's like, oh yeah, fuck them lot, yeah? But he's just venting off. That's his old friends. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure they're blessed now. Yeah. Even me and them are blessed now. But So I was going home and writing some of this stuff in the forum. So I was doing that from then. All the Facebook, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, fuck Berry Crew.
So basically, this is a pattern with you.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But I'm of that generation of the internet, innit?
Okay.
So like that, I was going on the forum dissing, man, going fuck these lot, but not realizing that I'm young, I'm dumb, I'm just watching a moment between friends that's got a bit heated, and actually they're gonna be cool after. And then like, you know, I went to an event that we had once, and I think we were all booked. It was like a Raw Mission event or something like that. And Intense ran up on me, and he's a big guy, you know what I'm saying? He ran up on me, was like, yeah, he went mental, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, rah, fuck, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, nothing came of it, you know what I'm saying? But cool, he was pissed. He was like, and I realized I kind of like involved myself in something that I shouldn't, you know what I'm saying? Really, I was wrong in that situation or whatever.
So what have you learned from all of that?
I didn't learn anything, basically. So years later, I won't tell this story properly, but years later, you know, when them forums got huge and I'm an active artist and I'm known to this whole scene, you know, I started seeing stuff said about me, and I overreacted to it sometimes in ways what I regret. So it's a bit mad, like someone would say something about me and I would like react to it, and I think, well, I look at it now, I think, well, you was doing that before. Yeah, and someone reacted to me, so yeah, it happened. It's a cycle, I guess. And then now we're on social media. Social media wasn't there, and now on social media, and everyone's doing it. So it's still there. Although I'm not on the internet going, you know, much people think I'm a troublemaker. I'm not on the internet going, fuck this person, fuck, like the way I was then.
So let's talk about your podcast for a second, right?
Yeah.
What exactly are you trying to do with your podcast? Tell people what the name of the podcast is and what are you trying to achieve from it?
The Flip Life podcast is the podcast I've got at the moment, and I am starting another one called Social Justice Warrior, which will be, just to touch on that, which will be a bit of a separation from music and just be about social issues, because I've become known to speak on social issues a lot, right? And that is really about creating progressive conversations and challenging kind of toxic and negative conversations that are being normalized a lot in society and on like social media at the moment. But going back to the Flip Life, we started that as Flip Life Radio on Pyro Radio. It was basically a podcast, but on a radio station. The podcast already existed then, and when I came in, I was saying I want to make it like a podcast, but we did it like a live radio show, but it was mostly talking, very little music, few songs here and there. And, you know, like I think I said, like, it was about shining a light on a hip-hop scene that people weren't seeing. That was like one of my central focuses. And bridging those kind of gaps, right, in one space. Because I'll have like, trying to think of the artists I had on there that are from that world. I mean, I had Killer Keller on there, I had Doc Brown on there, I had Ed Scran, he's an actor now, but he's of that. We're talking about hip-hop stuff on there, right? And then I had Taz, who is a bit more of a commercial artist from when his moment came out. He was a hip-hop artist, but he's connected to Dizzy and Graham. And then I had Young Spray, who, you know, there's a connection there. And I got Young Spray because he did a Not For The Radio interview with Viz, and they asked, he said that he came up listening to Mud Family in his interview, and I was like, wow. You know, a lot of people say they come up listening to Skinnyman, but they don't usually reference Mud Family as a group and stuff like that. And people in his kind of world don't do it that often. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was like, wow, I bigged him up for it. And then he was like, yeah, cool, man. I'm saying, I'll come on the show. So I don't know, I'm trying to bridge those worlds, to be honest. I don't know if I'm just thinking of that on the spot, but yeah, I'm trying to bring something together. And I think that's why a lot of the focus in this conversation ends up being about divides between generation, divides between scenes. Because to me, it's all hip hop and it's all beautiful.
Would you say you're one of these guys that talks about the problem, or you look for the solution?
I definitely talk about the problem, because I think the problem needs to be talked about in order to get to a solution. Like, I think we talked about the whitewashing of UK hip hop a lot online. And I think, and this isn't to target anybody, but I think High Focus, for example, who are the prominent probably label in what's left of that world, saw that, and they probably knew it already, but they saw that conversation and started changing the dynamic a little bit and signing different artists, because that's the solution. And if we didn't talk about the problem that much, would they ever sit here and go, oh, we need to look at the solution and do something about this? They might not, you know? Yeah. But yeah, there has to be a solution.
Okay.
But I think our shows often start with the problem, maybe even in an antagonistic way to get people really, oh gosh, are you saying that? Because they might not even have realised this has happened. Oh, you're right. And then we're like, okay, so what do we do about it? And then we work it out.
So do you feel you're the guy that can make the difference?
No, not at all. No, I'm not. It's because it's not about me. I just think I'm bold enough to say stuff that some people won't say. I think some people think they're going to say something that's controversial and that other people won't say. But a lot of the time that's bullshit and they're saying the same thing the other guy said.
Okay, so right now, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Say something bold enough that no one else would say.
Even me just coming in and saying that I think UK hip-hop was whitewashed and that the black artists were kind of pushed out of it. That's a bold thing to say.
Do you think they were pushed out of it or they went out of it because there was other things?
Well, okay, they went out of it if we're talking about grime, UK rap, the new artists that came. They didn't go out of it.
There was other opportunities.
They found opportunities because they couldn't get into it. But this also impacted, say, Thai, Black Twang, like their bookings, like, because and I'm saying this having a conversation with Ty already. I've had this conversation with him, and he's pointed this out to me that as it became whitewashed and this became what people were comfortable with, those artists stopped getting booked at those events. And like you do boom bap and it's like a legacy event. I definitely saw you performing there. Oh yeah. That was the year I feel like they might have turned it around a bit.
Well, the reason I was on that stage was because Mark B had died, so I did a tribute show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's what it was. I'm not sure if I would have been there if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, I feel you.
No, but I respect Ivan for everything he's done.
No, 100%, like big him up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's actually the only one I ever went to myself.
Right.
But I saw the videos and I had conversations with people. Because I think that's the only one I was ever invited to. Like, I never got the booking myself, do you know what I'm saying, or whatever. And I was active many years, like, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, I think that's a bold thing to say. I think a lot of the things I say about women's issues and that I call people out.
Why do you do that?
That's a whole long thing for me to explain. And I think maybe it's, maybe it's easier to say on one of those other podcasts that's very centered around that. But just because, I just became educated on certain things at a point in my life and watched women go through certain things that really opened my eyes. To be honest, it started on race issues, right?
So before you go into it, can I say the reason I'm asking the question, right? Is basically because I want people to understand that there might be people out there doing these things because they're seeking attention and all that. So I want to make it clear to the people that that's not really your purpose. Yeah, that's
definitely not my purpose, but I don't care if that's what they think, yeah? I actually don't care. Because I thought about this deeply, right? If I'm gonna do something for attention, if I'm doing something like challenging a negative thing, which is a positive action for change, for attention, then that's better than me doing something that's horrible for attention. So I don't care if it's for attention or not, even if it is, and it's not. That's what I'm saying, but it's not a good, to me, it's just not a good counter, and people are only saying that, the only outcome of saying that and achieving getting people to think that is to shut down the message of what I'm saying. That's which we don't want. So if you actually support the message of what I'm saying and you're only saying that, you're claiming you're only saying that because I'm a hypocrite, then you're shooting yourself in the foot because all you're killing is the message. You're not killing me. You can't kill me anyway. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to carry on. So it started, I think for me, the social issue stuff started with racism. It started with me talking about this whitewashing of UK hip-hop. It started with me noticing that white rappers of a next generation had actually come in with quite right-wing and racist views, and in the black music space were making songs that were a bit like on the nose of racism. And I started talking about that a lot. And then the people who were interested in that stuff, there was a lot of women in it. and just these conversations of social issues and equality naturally kind of all came out together, and I started interacting with people so much that a lot of issues of feminism and women's issues were just kept getting brought up. And when I started speaking about that, I just realized that amount of kickback I got was insane. Like, I got kickback for talking about the white rapper stuff, but only from a small percentage, because most people agree with me that what I was calling that was wrong. When I started talking about women's issues, most people in my world weren't happy about it. And when someone's not happy, oh, you don't want me to talk about this? Oh, I'm going to do it more. Fuck that. And that's not to be a troublemaker. That's because you've made me realize, oh, there's a problem. I've got to address the
Because a
problem.
lot of people, I think, hide from the problem. They run from the problem. So, you know, I take my hat off to anyone who's going to address issues,
And
rather than just agreeing to everything.
And now, bro, there's a list of rappers from our generation, mine and yours, who have made physical threats and want to fight me because I've said something to them about women's issues. And that includes the MC Duke one, because that R. Kelly thing, that was what it's to do with as well, right? And I'm just like, whoa, this shit triggers you so much, you want to fight over it. And I used to be that kid that wanted to fight over the forum comment because it was personal to me. But this isn't. This is something else. So I don't want to fight any of you about it. I want us to do better.
With the way the world has changed and everything, we as human beings need to learn to just switch off and not allow things to trigger us. If it's not for us.
No. Because I'm triggered on the other side, right? And I don't want to turn it off and turn it over. So
you enjoy being triggered?
No, I don't enjoy it, but there's actually a song on my EP called Triggered, but it's more about me. It's more about me triggering them. It says I got them all triggered. Yeah.
There you go. Causing trouble again.
There's bars, you know, like I'll come and perform that on this. That's probably what I'll come and perform that on this. And that's the one I thought I would do, but I just think it has to be timed right. Yeah. But no, like I don't want to stop being triggered by racism. I don't want to stop being triggered.
Oh no, bro, no, I think you're misunderstanding.
No, I know what you mean, but that's what I want to counter what you're saying.
No, there are some things that we can't ignore. Yeah, racism is one of those.
But I'm saying the people who are against me, right? They're against me talking about women's issues. They feel like they are justified and that they should be triggered by me doing that because what I'm doing is bad, right? I want them to stay being triggered because it's showing where we're at. Yeah. It's showing the problem. Like, be triggered, expose yourself as a society. Expose that, because that's the problem. And if I am triggered by something where I'm the problem, cool. Tell me that too, and we'll talk about it. And if I'm wrong, we'll hopefully get past it. And that's happened. Yeah. I mean, I've been wrong plenty of times in these conversations.
And what about all these people that are comfortable in their lives where they do just switch off and ignore the problem?
They say inaction is action, basically. I can't remember the exact quote, you know. Part of the problem as well.
Right, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
There you go. Yeah. That's
the one.
Anyway.
Do you want to say anything to sort of entice people to go to your podcast and keep watching?
Nah, man. Just not bother. Watch Blade's podcast.
No, your thing. Mine isn't a podcast.
Yeah, but you know, watch 521. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I'm on. You know, my podcast is Flip Life Podcast, but it's on Flip Life. My channel is called Flip Life Media. So actually, at the moment, if you go to fliplife.co.uk, that will take you just to the YouTube. Eventually, I'll probably have a website. And when I do the Social Justice Warrior podcast, that'll also just be on the same channel. It'll be a separate podcast, but it's in the same space. So yeah, just go to fliplife.co.uk, you know, engage, and just, you know, like leave a comment. You know, we always say at the beginning and things like leave a comment, but I really want people to leave a comment because it's like every show is a discussion. And there is a million opinions to be had. Like, and I am going to challenge your opinion when I think it's bad or it's creating something negative. But that's not because I hate you. Like, it's because I want us all to learn. And sometimes I realize the person you're arguing with on the internet, they're never going to learn. But the people reading it might. There's people watching it who go, oh shit, yeah, I didn't realize that. And I didn't think about that. So, you know, yeah, fliplife.co.uk, get involved, man.
Any final words?
Thank you for having me, man. Like, it's just, you know, it's an honor. And like, that's just, I really mean it when I say like, the UK hip hop scene was so important to my life. and you know, you played a huge part in that as well. You know what I'm saying? So you're an artist I respect, who, you know, you're probably the first one I ever saw in the charts from our world. And that was like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? You and maybe Roots Maneuver. Pick up Roots Maneuver as well.
Of course.
I haven't. I don't think I mentioned him in all of this. You know, the first time I ever met him, I know I'm telling Final Thoughts, but I think I met him maybe the same day I met you at the event, the festival thing we've talked about before, right?
Was that Essential?
Essential Festival.
Yeah.
Shout out man like Ish, man.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. A lot of
about.
people won't shout out Ish, yeah, but Ish is my guy still.
Nah, come on, man. This is dope.
Ish is my guy, but yeah, shout out Ish. But I just remember Skinny going, oh, this is Nova, but I don't expect anybody to remember me or whatever, so that's whatever. And then I just remember walking down Brick Lane and someone shouting, Nova. I mean, looking across the road and it's Roots Maneuver, being like, whoa, he knows my name. You know what I'm saying? Like, meant so much to me, you know? So
Yeah, of course.
Big it up, man. Thank all of you, you know?
This is a guy that I knew from a very young age. I didn't know him well enough or anything, but I knew that he existed, and I've watched his career grow over the years. And recently, obviously, he's been doing the podcast and stuff, and I watch, and I'm always intrigued as to what he's gonna say next. And sometimes I think, my man's looking to cause trouble here. But it makes it more entertaining for me to want to watch what he's doing. So I would say, for all of you guys, if you want to be entertained, you want to go and check out his podcast, obviously go and check the description below. I'll put all the links in there. Make sure you go follow him on his Instagram page. I'll put the links in there as well. But aside from that, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive the notifications, like, share, and get involved in the comment section below. Again, thank you for watching. Nova, bro, peace. Thanks again, yeah?
Thank you.